Good morning, Year 6. Lovely to see you all, and we've missed you lots and lots. Hopefully anyone who's had a birthday since school's closed, I hope you had a wonderful birthday, and thank you to all the children who took part in the video that you sent us. It was brilliant. So this is the first video for our curriculum learning that would normally go into our red books, and we're going to have one video each day of the week with the learning from Monday to Thursday all coming together. So on Friday, hopefully each week we'll have a really cool piece of learning that you can be really proud of. Each video will have Mr. Jobber or I at the start like this, talking and teaching you. Then you have a chance where you can try the learning, and then we ask that you email it to us on the Year 6 email account, and then we can respond and we can tell you what we really like, and we might be able to tell you something that you can improve for the next time you try something similar. Also, as each week we're going to learn about something different. If there's something that you think your friends would really like to learn about, or something that you're really interested in, if you let us know through an email, then it might be that Mr. Jobber and I can plan the next week's learning around that topic. So for example, you might think you really want everyone to learn about the Olympic Games, so you might email Mr. Jobber and I, and then if we can think of some lessons to plan around that, then next week's learning could potentially be about the Olympic Games, or whatever it is that you want to learn about. And now over to Mr. Jobber, who's going to tell us what our learning this week's about.
Hi everyone, Mr. Jobber here. So like Mr. Kildare said, we're going to be looking at a different topic every week, and I'm here today to introduce you to the first topic that we're going to be looking at. So this week, as you can see written above my head, my giant whiteboard I have in my house for some reason, we're going to be looking at whether or not orca whales, otherwise known as killer whales, should be kept in captivity. So this is something we looked at very briefly in Year 5. We looked at it when we looked at writing a perspective piece for an animal. So some of you chose elephants and some of you actually chose killer whales. So some of you have got a bit of a head start on this actually, which is quite nice. The reason we've chosen this is because in recent years, SeaWorld has come under a lot of criticism for the way that it has kept orca whales in captivity. For those of you who don't know what captivity means, it's one of the words we're going to look at a little bit later. So in recent years, SeaWorld has come under a lot of criticism from the media and just people around in the world in general for the way that it treats orca whales and keeps them in captivity. Some people actually argue they're doing the right thing, and they say that they're doing this for conservation purposes, which means to help breed the animals so there's more of them in the world, because numbers in the wild are getting smaller and smaller and we don't want them to be endangered or disappear completely. However, others disagree, and they actually say that, well, these orca whales aren't having the normal life that they would have, therefore this isn't fair to keep them in these small pens. And some people believe that SeaWorld are acting immorally and that they are using these animals for their own personal gain. So they're getting money because of what they're doing with these animals. Our project this week that we're going to do is to create a persuasive poster with a little bit of writing on it and some images as well, that's designed to persuade people, that's convince them to believe whatever it is that you believe. So to do that, we're going to have to create a balanced argument. So we're going to be learning a lot about that. The job that you've got to do is to persuade someone what you think. So if you think the animals should be left in the wild, shouldn't be in captivity, and it's immoral that SeaWorld are keeping them in that captivity, that's your job to convince them of that. But on the other hand, if you disagree and you say, actually, yeah, they should be kept in captivity. In captivity, they're happy, they're safe, they've got a lot of things to do, then it's your job to persuade people of that. And the way we're going to do that is through writing something that we're going to look at further in the week. So today, our job, so I'm going to do it at the same time as you, is to conduct some research into whether or not killer whales should be kept in captivity, because if we don't do the research, we don't have any arguments to write about. So we have to find out as much as we can. If you think back to last year when we looked at plastic pollution, it's the same thing. We had to do a lot of research before we could persuade anyone of anything. Mr. Kildare will explain more about the research, and he will show you a video and some different links that you can go on and do some more of your own research, because I know you're absolutely fantastic at that. But more from him in a second. First, we're going to look at some vocabulary that you are going to need in order to be able to do this. Now, first things first, before we do anything else, we're going to need to look at the key vocabulary that we're going to need for this week's project. As we normally do in class, it's really important that we understand the vocabulary for two reasons. First of which being, if we don't understand the vocabulary that's going to come up in a lot of our research, then we're not actually going to know what's being spoken about as well as we could. And second reason is that because this language we're going to use in our writing, and the more technical our language is, the more likely it is to show that we know what we're talking about, and that is more likely to convince someone round to our way of thinking. So the first bit of language we're going to look at is killer whales in itself. Now, killer whales are referred to as two things, depending on the country or the video, or just the way people say their name. They're either referred to as killer whales, or the other one you might come across is orca whales. That is the more technical term for them. So although we've got killer whales in our title, if we're looking to write from a more technical perspective, then we're going to refer to them as orca whales. If any of you are looking how to stretch yourself above and beyond, like I know some of you are with your language, you could even look up the Latin for their name. The second piece of language we're going to be looking at is the word captivity. The word captivity is in our title. We did talk about it very briefly earlier, but basically captivity means when an animal is under human control in a controlled environment. So for example, a zoo is in captivity, an aquarium is in captivity. Next one we're going to be looking at is mammals, when we classify them. So we've got our mammals, our reptiles, our fish, our birds and our amphibians. And they are 5 of our different animal classifications of vertebrates, so animals that have a backbone of some sort, like a spine. Now people often think that whales are a type of fish because they live in the water. They are not. They are a mammal. One of the things that make them a mammal is that they burst live young, which a lot of fish don't. In fact, all whales are mammals. One of the words that's going to come up in the video that you're going to be watching with Mr. Kilduff in a bit is the word sterile. In the context of the video, sterile is referred to show that the tanks are very barren, they're very empty, they're very bland, they're very plain. There's nothing of life really within them. Intelligence is the last word we're going to be looking at, and intelligence is essentially the measure of how smart something is. So something is highly intelligent, it is very smart. If it is not highly intelligent, not particularly smart. Okay, now over to you, Mr. Kilduff.
So for today's video, Year 6, we're going to be watching a short video about SeaWorld, and then we're going to be note taking, so recording some notes that are for SeaWorld and some notes that are against SeaWorld, to make sure at the end of today's lesson we have some notes and some information so that we could potentially make a balanced argument, so argue for and against SeaWorld at the moment. We're going to do some note taking to record our facts, and hopefully you can remember at the beginning of Year 6 we did some note taking about World War II. We're going to do that today's learning in a similar way. You could record your notes in a very creative way like this, which is sketch noting or sketch note taking. So you could do some sketching, record some images, a bit like a mind map. It's very creative and it's completely up to you, whatever way you want to do it. There's no wrong way to do that. Or you could choose to do a more formal way like this and have a title, have some bullet points, maybe some paragraphs, some columns, kind of again whatever way you'd like to do it, but more formal. Or a third way, which I'm going to choose today, is to get some pieces of paper and cut them into sections like this or card, and then you can record one note or one piece of information on each card. Right, Year 6, and now we're going to watch a short video about SeaWorld and about the orca whales in SeaWorld. And we're going to hear from some experts and some visitors to the park and their opinions around SeaWorld. It's very important that we record some facts both for and against SeaWorld, because later on in the week when we create our posters, it's important that we have a range of facts and we can choose what stance we want to take on SeaWorld then. Obviously you can pause the video if you'd like to, or you can watch again at the end, or you may want to note take as you watch.
Reporting from Newsround from here in San Diego at SeaWorld. This amazing killer whale show. But the question's being asked, should these huge beasts be in this pool or should they be out in the wild?
They're graceful, magnificent and highly intelligent mammals. But the only way to see them this close up is through glass. They're a popular attraction and help us learn more about killer whales.
Killer whales are thriving here at SeaWorld. They're very healthy, they live long lives. We're not taking anything away from them by having them in this habitat. It's just different from what they experience in the wild.
The trainers used to be part of the show. They said the tricks the whales did showed how their very smart brains were being kept active. But trainer John Hargrove has now left SeaWorld with mixed memories.
Some of my memories are priceless, and I cherish those, and other memories are heartbreaking. The whales are so bored, the environment is incredibly sterile, and it's simply not enough for these animals that have this level of intelligence.
A documentary called Blackfish said the same. The trainers were being killed and injured by unhappy, aggressive whales. It had a big impact. Today, SeaWorld shows are different. The trainers can't be in the pool with them anymore. Fewer people are visiting and the company's in trouble, so they're building bigger pools for the whales.
Honestly, I think that the ones in the wild should be kept in the wild, but the ones that are here, they're doing good things with.
I think it's good for human interaction, and I think as long as they're treated well, you know, so.
She say go to ocean better.
Yeah?
But you not get a chance to see it. 你看不到了，怎么办？
没关系，只要它自由就好。
She say it's okay as long as they're happy in the ocean.
That's a grey whale. Seeing killer whales in the wild off California is very unusual, but the whale watchers preferred this to SeaWorld.
Keeping them away from their family members, taking them out of their natural habitat, they don't thrive and stay as healthy and successful as they do in the wild.
Most killer whales are now born in the park. They wouldn't survive in the wild, and this baby will live for maybe 50 years. So even if the shows stopped tomorrow, ending this would take a very long time.
So I hope you found that interesting, and hopefully you've watched it at least once, the video. I chose to note take on pieces of card like this, and I'm going to now quickly show you some of the notes that I've taken. So I made this note, which is for SeaWorld. Dr. Christopher Dold, a SeaWorld chief vet, says that the orca whales are very healthy and live long lives. So this is a good piece of note taking because it has a reliable person who's a doctor. It has a quote from him, and it also has his job title in there as well. And then similarly, I have a quote against SeaWorld. Again, I have put someone's name, John Hargrave, who is a former SeaWorld trainer, and he says that the whales are so bored. So again, this one shows that potentially SeaWorld is not somewhere that we should be promoting. But again, I've gone for something for SeaWorld and against SeaWorld to make sure it's a balanced argument at the moment. Hopefully you have some similar facts, and hopefully you've got a lot more than me. I'm going to continue mine after this video. After you've watched the video, if you'd like to find some more facts, obviously there's lots of things on the internet, but here are two reliable sources you can go on to. The first website is SeaWorld.com, and the second one is some facts that are actually against SeaWorld. So if you'd like to search for these ones, you can pause the video and write these websites down, and you can search for them if you'd like to. Please email in myself and the rest of the Year 6 staff examples of your note taking. We'd love to see it.
Mr. Kild, I've just showed you some links, and there are some on the screen as well if you'd like to do some further research. One thing I would like to talk about very quickly is e-safety. What I would recommend when copying these links into your search bar is doing it with an adult or a parent around. If the site you get when you type that address in is not displaying something to do with orca whales, then I would recommend closing your laptop screen, turn your phone over, or if it's a computer, turn the monitor off like you should know how to do, so you can lock it down and then let an adult know.
And we'll see you for tomorrow's lesson. Have a lovely day, Year 6.